the Seireitei, a Bleach podcast brought to you by Grand Fisher Fishing. Lures for everybody. My name is Del, and today I'm joined by Shiki.
Hello.
And Elv.
Hello.
And we are here today to talk about episodes 8, 9, and 10 of the anime. So we're going to change up the structure for those of you who are returning to listen to the podcast. We're going to try and streamline things a little bit. Thank you for sticking with us through these first few episodes as we troubleshoot things and as we work out how we like to talk about these episodes with each other. We appreciate your hanging in there because we're hanging in there too.
And your feedback is lovely.
Oh my gosh, your feedback has been stunning. Thank you so much, everybody. How are you guys today? You okay?
Yeah, I'm doing as well as I can at 1:45. Half,
Yep.
I should say.
Yep, I'm doing pretty good as well. A little sleep deprived, but ready to get on through.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to the tail end of the week. Sweet. So we're going to kick things off with some super quick little recaps of the 3 episodes that we watched. So, episode 8, who's got that?
I do.
Heck yeah, take it away.
In this episode, we join the Kurosaki family on their way to Masaki's grave. As things of the past are revealed in the tragic events of Ichigo's mother's death, we also see Rukia confronted by a Soul Reaper on a mission to collect information about her stay in the world of the living. Ichigo thankfully comes to the rescue of Kuchi and has a short-lived fight with Saido before they're pulled away to battle a more threatening force, and he meets the big and ugly hollow Grand Fisher.
Well, that's not very nice.
I mean, it's debatable, but...
I'm just saying, if there are things to criticize about Grand Fisher, I feel like his personality is considerably more lacking.
I mean, it could be an ugly personality. You never know.
Yeah, that's true. Ugly inside and out. I mean, he's kind of an asshole. I guess I'll give you that.
Kind of. I'm a bit worried about what
He's only been terrorizing Soul Reapers for 50 years. I guess that was a gross understatement on my part.
Ichigo's mother, you know, well, that's whatever.
He might just have a little bit of a case of imposter syndrome, you know?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably it.
I'm a bit worried about what levels constitutes for you to be an asshole. If you just said a bit of an asshole, I'm worried about what lengths you have to go to.
I mean, to be fair, we get no snapshots into the Grand Fisher's inner life whatsoever. For all we know, he goes home and he sits on that riverbank and he's like, "Gosh, if only I were just a little scarier." I mean,
just imagine that as a slice of life short.
I want it now, and I want Shinichiro Watanabe to direct it.
Oh my god. Is Ichigo going to be the one that helps him through his, sadness and his corruptness and brings him back from the edge?
Probably. It's a slow burn enemies to friends fic. Anyway, that takes us pretty directly into episode 9, which is called Unbeatable Enemy. Ichigo confronts the Grand Fisher, and it's revealed that this is indeed the hollow that killed his mother, Masaki. Ichigo and the Grand Fisher have one heck of a fight, and all of it is visible to Rukia, who learns a little bit more about how strong Ichigo really is.
Jumping in to episode 10, where we take a drastic turn from the dark and tragicness that is those last 2 episodes, we are then brought to the lovely Don Kanoji episode, and what can I say? He's a great character, isn't he? So we are introduced to the BOHAHAHA moments that is this entire being that we'll probably see throughout this entire anime if you don't skip filler episodes. We get to see more into how hollows are made, and we have a bit of a fight between a hollow that's just become, and we've got Don Kanoji and Ichigo, and it's, a great episode of just... It's my best way of summarizing it up, because it doesn't really have much of a plot, other than giving us information with a fun fight and some quirkiness. And Urahara showing up to be the little spidery spider he is.
So in episode 8, the major things that I found interesting about it was we got a little back look into Soul Society structure and law, and how when the agent Soul Reaper came to see what Rukia was up to, he made it seem like she committed a very egregious crime, especially
Indeed.
the moment that Ichigo stepped in. What were your guys' thoughts when you first saw that?
To be honest, it was kind of like, I don't know. Because we've just been getting so much introductory information. It's kind of just thrown in there, but not in a bad way. Not nearly in a bad way at all. I think it's nice that we have that moment of finally peeking through. It's like you're getting these little cracks to this bigger thing that I don't really feel like we ever really get to understand ever. But we get cracks into this world that is the Soul Society, because it's like we're literally as clueless as Ichigo. Well, when you first begin to watch it. But I think my opinion on it, going back to watch it, it's actually very interesting because it's very, it does cement, Rukia's, crime, which later on, why we've learned that it's so bad, kind of, they did actually take the appropriate steps to, like, deal with it, but I feel like they could have done better. Because Saito doesn't seem like the best person to send for this mission. It makes me question Soul Society as a returning Bleach fan to rewatch it. It makes me question Soul Society's seriousness in this issue.
One thing I will admit is, especially first watch through, every time a Soul Reaper came up in this first arc, they always felt like an asshole.
Yeah, I think that's something that it's really easy to forget about as you go a little bit further into the series. Every single time a Soul Reaper comes up who isn't Rukia, like, it seems pretty clear that it's Rukia on her mission as opposed to the rest of Soul Society. And every other image we see of a Soul Reaper, they seem to be sort of strong arm of the law, and they seem quite insistent about maintaining status quo and putting their feet down. Which actually, now that I'm thinking about it,
makes sense.
It does make sense. And then I'm also thinking about the contrast between people like Eiichiro Saito and Kisuke, who we don't get to see much of at this point, but we're setting up, like, it's clear that he can see things and do things and know things because Rukia keeps coming to him for help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems there's a very, like, us versus them mentality going on at this point.
Yeah.
And I guess it's weird to see how much, that law-bearing, like, attitude that they have, and then what it becomes later on, which is it's literally building up so you can know what lengths these crazy motherfuckers are willing to go.
Yeah.
To maintain balance, which is the whole point of a Soul Reaper, and yet everything's gonna, like, it's such a contrast. And like I said before, it's a pity we can't do complete spoilers on here, because I would, honest to God, love to delve into how much they are literally, beating into us how negative Soul Society seems from an outside perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's trying to give us the mindset that Ichigo has, the way he sees Soul Society. I don't know whether that's on purpose or not, but it's really giving us that sense that we're learning it the way Ichigo's learning it. So we're going to have those same prejudices that Ichigo has towards them. If you really think about it, that's kind of how they wanted it to go.
I had
and
a
we
thought
learn and grow
along
with them.
I had a thought along those lines when we were doing our last episode, actually, which was thinking about the way that Ichigo interacts with the souls that he seeks to save in his everyday life, and Rukia's kind of still showing him the ropes. I was wondering whether perhaps it actually is necessary for somebody that doesn't come from Soul Society and yet has Soul Reaper capabilities. Is a person like that actually uniquely better qualified to do the job of a Soul Reaper because they don't come from that set of really specific and sometimes arbitrary rules? Like, does Ichigo have a serious advantage because he has a different background?
Yeah, it's that that fight between morals and obligations. Ichigo has those morals to he stands by humans because, you know, he is one. He will never not call himself one, despite everything he goes through. He's just a human.
Mm-hmm.
As much as like people keep like tell him whether you agree with that or not, you know, that's he believes he is, and that's his ideals. But I guess that also just it's harder because he can't make those hard decisions where a Soul Reaper can, which is keeping balance no matter what. So I guess Ichigo being more qualified, I guess, yeah, that is a bit of a difficult one because he'd be more qualified towards he'd be, you know, in a defense case, he would be the defense lawyer, and the other ones would be, that's kind of what it would be. It's that no right or wrong, but Ichigo will always see, you know, humans first, you know, souls first, which is obviously very admirable, but can make things difficult. Like, we know, like I said, we know the lengths Soul Society will go to keep balance. I mean, my a certain Squad 12 captain has something to do with that in the manga. Very longer on. I don't know how to say it without. But
I mean, well, we get a lot of that already at this point because I think we've heard it from multiple. We've certainly heard it from Rukia, and I think we hear it. Yeah. I think we might hear it actually from Saito at some point that keeping the balance is the primary job of a Soul Reaper.
Yeah, and they're very so duty bound as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he said, they would literally better accept her sleeping with a soul, which is technically what he jabs at.
Oh my god!
Rukia.
Yeah,
he would. They literally would. They would accept her just being, you know, lonely than her ruining the balance. Like that literally sums up in a very casual way the way Soul Society works. You know, their morals are a bit switched.
Yeah, it's
like,
a very
backwards, but.
It's a very interesting subject that I'm going to want to touch on a whole lot when we get into the next arc. And just the showing of it this early on through Saito, it's just interesting to see how that built up, especially being shown as a narrative through Ichigo's eyes is. And I'm looking forward to discussing that in the future episodes as we learn more about Soul Society laws and culture.
Yeah.
So I want to hop on to differences I did notice in the sub and dubs.
Oh yeah.
Now, the major difference that I noticed in this is more so cultural in the localization of the dub. Now, for this, I did watch the Crunchyroll subtitled, and that depending on who's subbing it, it's always going to vary. But yeah, when you see Ishin talking with Yuzu and Karin, he's trying to cheer them up, and in the dub, he is talking about how they're going to have like a headstone hopping contest and incense contest. However, in the subbed version, he was talking about having a headstone toppling contest.
Oh my goodness!
And where there would be wardrobe malfunctions.
Sir?
See, I think that's more. Yeah, that's more of the rating issue that we said in the last one. Yeah, I think that's definitely leaning more towards rating problems. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that in the rating, and especially even if we ignore the wardrobe malfunctions for the rating, the headstone toppling is very much so, I think, a major cultural no-no that we can't even joke about in Western societies. So I imagine they made that differentiation when bringing it over to not offend people. And this is reinforced by another difference that I noticed when Ishina is gone and they're looking for him. The daughter, which daughter it was that said this, but in the English version, she said that he was going to find the cemetery director, but in the Japanese version, Ishin went to go look for the cemetery priest. So it's just another like cultural difference because in I'm not sure how it is in Australia, but at least in the US, we have like directors of cemeteries and overseers of the cemeteries. not so much a religious person to oversee them. While
Yeah.
in Japan,
Yeah, no, not if it's just a public cemetery. If it's literally attached to a religious building of some kind, then I imagine it's different. But if it's just a public cemetery, yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting how like they'll localize some things like this, but then things like Kanso and the Kido spells, they will keep those in the original Japanese.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
I think they shouldn't really change much at all, to be honest. But then again, it's those, you know, those jokes and those inside things that we won't get. Like
Yeah,
the
and it's like,
headstone
what
toppling,
is their target audience going to have context for, you know? So, like,
Yeah.
and it could be the difference between, like, religious implications versus, like, quote-unquote magical implications, because I know that they translate, a lot of the time, if you're talking about, like, oh, this specific bakudo or something like that, they'll translate that as a Kido spell into English a lot of the time, and, it took me, because Bleach was one of the first anime that I watched, and I didn't know much at all about Japanese culture when I first started watching Bleach. So I didn't realize the weight that the word Shinigami has in the first place. It's like, it's not the same as saying, like, hey, these are a bunch of Grim Reapers running around, but it's not just
the literal
a cool
death
thing
gods.
that Kubo made up. Yeah, exactly. It's like...
It like has
Death
a
Note is-
cultural meaning.
Yeah, Death
Oh yeah,
Note
I
can
hadn't
be
even
very
seen
good.
Death Note at that point, or the Showa
Yeah,
Genroku Rakugo
'cause so
Shinji, which is a different vibe, but...
Literally different Shinigami. Like, I actually wanted to write a fan fiction of that type of darker version of the Shinigami. Kind of one day. Yeah, I can't say that too much because obviously the episode.
Can you imagine the Death Note being somebody's Bankai? Jesus. Oh.
No, but honestly, like, it's just, yeah, I want something like that type of dark, because I like my dark stuff. But, yeah, interesting. But before we go on to manga differences, if that was coming up, I kind of, because we delved a lot into Seireitei's part, but we didn't actually touch on, like, the biggest thing in this, which is Ichigo and his...
Who?
His mum. Like, how did we skip over that entire brutality? No, it's fine. But I was so excited to talk to somebody about, like, Ichigo's a 15-year-old kid. Still, you can tell he hasn't gotten counselling, because I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, or cut it out if it's seems offensive, but I don't think it's a very big thing over in some of those type of countries to get to receive counselling, or maybe he just, Ichigo being Ichigo probably wouldn't have sort it out anyway. But it's just to see this kid, you know, still beating himself up over this for years. Like, what is it, 9 plus, like...
Yeah.
6 years, right? Because he's 15 now, so I think 6 years.
I can't speak from personal experience in Japanese culture. This is just secondhand what I've been told by locals there, especially locals who have moved from, like, the US or the UK to Japan as an expat. Counseling and, like, any kind of psychological care is not really a thing in Japan, from what I am told. I may be wrong on this, of course, because I'm only going secondhand knowledge on this, but from what I have heard, it's just something that is kind of ignored and, like, pushed into the closet.
Yeah. And even if
I think we see a lot of that here as well, honestly. I mean, it's, like, really cool for millennials to talk about their therapists all the time, but I think there's still stigma attached to it, you know?
Yeah, and obviously Ichigo being Ichigo definitely wouldn't, like, he wouldn't have, he's completely happy with blaming himself. Not happy isn't obviously happy hard.
He's used to it. It's
he's
familiar.
Completely
it's
content.
Comfortable for him.
He's literally willing to take on this. This goes into his deeper personality. He's willing to take on everybody's burden. Whether that's healthy or not is a completely different discussion. But it's crazy to think, like, how people love to say that Ichigo isn't an in-depth character, and I'll fight you all to the death, because he is literally, like, yes, it's a big trope to have a traumatic character, but how strong Ichigo is, not only physically but mentally, is absolutely, like, I think that's what drew me to him as a character when I was watching it, even though my favourites Hitsugaya, and always will be. Hitsugaya is the same example of that strength to be resilient. I mean, also, it's not always the healthiest representation, because he does bottle things up, you know, and doesn't seek help. But it's just, that level of like brutal, like tragic shit to happen to Ichigo. It's just, I literally was tearing up again just watching it. I can't not get emotional when I watch this strong, brooding kid just, break down because of something that he literally blames himself over, which he shouldn't. Like, those whole 2 episodes, like, and the next one we're going to talk, is just, like, it's far from what you expected Bleach to turn into, like, that.
Yeah, you get to see a lot of his inner life, a lot of his emotion.
Yeah, we got to peel into the dark side of Bleach, because obviously it's
not just shonen anymore. We're getting into Jose territory. Let's go.
Like, we've had these happy moments, we've had these semi dark moments, but there hasn't been that moment of like, holy crap, like. Bleach has so many like angles, and that's why I'm like, understandably, people are completely entitled to their opinion. But when people say it's such a basic anime with not very much substance, I'm like, are you kidding me?
They lured the audience in with the cute little girl that is flashy fights and big swords, and then the Grand Fisher of Emotions comes and destroys us later.
Yeah, literally, that's what it's called, the Grand Fisher of Emotions. We use that as a term now. Like,
yes, please.
Fuck you,
it's
Grand
in the books.
Fisher, but Jesus. God, like, that guy brings us on to the next episode in a minute, but obviously we have to hang on.
Yeah, we'll hit a couple of these pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest difference, which is actually fascinating considering how much time we just spent talking about him, is that Eiichiro Saito doesn't exist in the manga.
Wait, what?
I never knew that.
I know, he is not a canon character, and even if you were to go to the Bleach wiki, which does a really good job of using little footnotes to cite their sources, his whole entire Wikipedia page has footnotes that link exclusively to anime episodes. So,
but then who the heck?
I assume that it's to give the viewer a little bit more narrative context for Soul Society. I think storytelling wise, I'm not confused, but it was also a bold choice.
Yeah, I mean, it really played well, but
who confronted her? Now I'm
it just doesn't happen. I think she's not confronted by anybody from Soul Society until just a little bit later.
Maybe that's a change that they made for the better, because I like the fact that they have that peek into the Soul Society. I like the little hints that they give us. So I actually like that change, but that's interesting. Like, I need to read this manga. I'll get there eventually, guys, because it's being animated.
No, that's okay.
At the moment. But, like, damn, I never knew that. Like, that's such a small thing, but it's, like, blowing my mind now to learn these small things. Because obviously...
I know.
Like, far out.
Yeah, I was watching the episode and I was like, oh man, I remembered this guy conceptually, but I forgot that he's kind of a goofball and he's actually pretty lovable. And he's not canon. I was absolutely shocked.
Lovable.
Yeah, I mean, he's so serious at first and then he just proves he's a total dork.
Well, he's canon in our hearts.
Yeah, damn straight. I'm gonna write some Eiichiro Saito fanfic. Don't hold me to that, please, God. I wonder if there's any, though. I'm curious to know how many tags on AO3 there even are for this asshole.
I will do it right now. You guys
please
get into the next episode and I will tell you.
I'm just going to hit a couple more differences super quick. So one is just a little scene that we get in the manga that didn't come up in the anime that was quite sweet, of young Tatsuki and young Ichigo. Ichigo's hanging around the riverbank where his mother passed away. And Tatsuki actually asks him, hey, kid, can you see ghosts? And Ichigo laughs it off and says no. And he talks about how laughing it off usually gets people to put that question away, so he doesn't seem quite as weird. But it's implied that he was hanging around the riverbank, maybe waiting for his mother's ghost. So we get a little emotional, sad moment.
Yeah, I think that they only got rid of that just because they put so many Saito scenes.
Honestly, yeah, if they hadn't put freaking non-canon Eiichiro Saito in this episode, they would have had time for that noise. So
we went through so many emotions of Saito. He's so lovable. He fucking Saito.
He really is.
Part of this moment.
God, I know. You want to talk about
God.
loving side characters? Jesus, this is a whole new level.
See, I could have
and
done
then-
without Seireitei, except for I liked the peek into. See, I'm very iffy. I don't like him as a character, but I like the insight that we have. Like, it's very interesting.
Yeah. And it's also, he name drops the Onmitsukido, the stealth force, for the first time, which I don't know why they introduced that in a non-canon moment, but I was like, what? My head whipped around a little bit. We just hear it once and then we move on.
That makes
I
no
know.
sense if you haven't read it. Like, I mean, I guess because they call it the stealth force, it kind of does have its own like it has stealth force. You know, it kind of results into spies, if you want to put it that
I know.
way.
We can also,
But,
this is for so much later, but we can talk about my headcanons about people who wear a hat like that and their connection to the stealth force. I've got headcanons for days about that.
Okay, what about,
I'm just saying,
but what about Shunsui?
shadows make you real stealthy. That's literally what I'm saying, and I want to hit that later, because
okay. Yeah, I get you. I got your reference. It took me a second.
No,
I
I don't want to say too much, but if you can do cool shit with shadows, you're probably stealthy as fuck.
Yeah.
So then there's just one more considerable difference between the anime and the manga, which is that Karin can see the Grand Fisher and speaks to the little girl, the lure that speaks through the Grand Fisher's voice. So there is a moment. There is a moment when Karin sees the girl and is like, "Oh boy, what's wrong?" Very similar to the way that Ichigo did when he was a kid. And she figures out that there's a problem and starts telling Yuzu to run away. But of course, they're later apprehended by the Grand Fisher, who is just looking to eat
that would've
everyone
been
with
so
high
much
spiritual
cooler.
pressure. I know.
Honestly, that
Karin's
would've
such a
been cool.
badass in the manga. Ugh.
But then again, that would have like really fucked up Ichigo, because it's like,
Yeah, I would say
she
that'd
figured
probably
out what you
detract
did.
from Ichigo and almost like be a jab at him kind of thing. So I imagine that's why they
perhaps.
picked it up.
So those are the main differences between the anime and the manga, and I feel like that segues us pretty nicely into the next episode, which picks up basically right where episode 8 left off.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the things that stood out the most to me in this episode was our quick little glimpse into how, I don't want to say stubborn because that has such a negative connotation. I think maybe determined is the word I'm looking for. How determined Ichigo really is when he gets into a serious fight, and also how strong he is. Because we know that this Soul Reaper has been messing with Soul Society for 50 years, which also I'm like, where's that fic of a bunch of Soul Reapers jumping down to Karakura Town, trying to fuck up the Grand Fisher and completely getting their asses handed to them? Like, I literally might write that fic later, but
it mustn't have been a big enough issue, because they could have just sent captains and got him killed instantly. Like that makes me think, like, why the fuck? Unless I'm missing something, because I'm dumb.
I'm literally not sure, because we know that Karakura Town falls under, I don't remember whether it's been acknowledged that there are divisions within Soul Society, within the military, the Gotei 13, and Rukia is a member of Squad 13, and the town where Ichigo lives is under the jurisdiction of Squad 13. So, without saying too much, I was like, I wonder if Rukia's captain, whoever that may be, ever came down to Karakura Town and like had problems with Grand Fisher. Plus fish imagery, I'm now realizing, like, I don't want to get too into that because it's total headcanon and nothing confirms this, but I certainly thought about it, and that's another reason I might write that fic. He's imperfect. He's not the sweet cinnamon roll everyone thinks he is. While we're there, actually, I do just want to acknowledge that, like, I was going to touch on this later, but in episode 9, we do get a little bit of a flashback, and Rukia hears this, like, she's watching Ichigo fight the Grand Fisher, and she hears this steady, determined, masculine voice telling her that there are two different kinds of fights, the fight for honor versus the fight for pride. And she acknowledges that Ichigo, in this confrontation with the Grand Fisher, she could help him kick its ass, but then his honor might suffer. So what do you guys think about that? Without harping too much on the flashback component of it, what do you think of that concept in the context of this fight?
So the realist in me wants to say that a victory is a victory no matter what happens, because you get your revenge. But then I also do see it from Ichigo's perspective, where this is baggage he's carried with him since he was like
6 years.
6 years. And he's been blaming himself for this thing the entire time. And suddenly he finds there's an actual villain that I can blame. It wasn't my fault, and I can actually avenge my mom. So it makes sense to me from Ichigo's mindset where this is his responsibility. This is his mess to clean up, and he wants to effectively do this as like an I'm sorry to you for letting this happen to you, Mom. And if someone steps in, then it's kind of like stealing away his chance to apologize, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I kind of
totally.
have the feeling as to would Ichigo really have stopped her, though? Other than getting hurt, if she was completely in control of her powers, would Ichigo have actually stopped her, though, really? Like, other than for the simple fact that he didn't want her to get hurt. That's the part where I'm like, I can see it, like you said, from both perspectives. It's kind of like he wants to have this moment, but also he wouldn't be like Zaraki about it. I don't care if I'm name dropping at the moment. Like he wouldn't be that, brutal about it. But I guess, I guess that also goes to the whole like friendship wise, you should have jumped in. Like there's so many different morals and reasonings for like why you should or shouldn't do things that you do. But I guess especially even if Ichigo doesn't understand it, because Ichigo would have jumped in, but Rukia as a Soul Reaper who's learnt by this code understands that because.
And she's got her own personal baggage around that concept as well, without saying too much about it. Like, she's experienced some challenges too, and she's watched her friends fight before, and she has her own relationship to interfering with fights like that.
Yeah, I think if she was to interfere and did have her powers, I think Ichigo would have accepted the assistance, but he would have been beside himself at the end.
Yeah. Because it's like I said, he wouldn't give any thought to jumping in to help her. And because he's done it before, he jumps in to help. Like he didn't he'll let the final blow go to the person who needs it. We see that in the second movie, that's because it's not canon, I guess we could talk about that. Would that, yes or no? Because anyway, well, that says enough as it is. We've seen that he will stand in to a fight, even if it's for somebody else, even if it's that person's pride on the line, he will jump in. So it goes down to that. Ichigo wouldn't have noticed that she took that moment to have that thought, because, like I said, Rukia lives and breathes this type of code of honor and code of like conduct or whatever you want to call it. That's why she remembered Jushido's words, or her captain's words.
No, that's okay. I mean, at this point, look, we can name drop without giving major spoilers. It's okay.
Yeah, I was going to say. So
plus, if anybody's listened to the first episode, they've heard that name enough times. Jeez.
Yeah. So Jushido, she remembers his words because he taught her how to be the Soul Reaper that she is. He had a big hand in, crafting her, or at least I like to think so. I like to think that's that bond there. And, so I guess that's a hard one. At the same time, I'm mad that they made him fight him alone because he could have literally died. And as much as that would have been okay with him,
it raised the stakes,
Ichigo probably wouldn't mind it. Yeah, obviously for the drama and shit. But yeah, it's interesting indeed.
Yeah. So I guess the other thing from this episode that I just wanted to touch on is so I've said before on the podcast how much I'm really liking Ishin in this rewatch, but I just think his dad energy at the end of this episode is top notch, and I think he does a really good job of being goofy and irreverent and doing his best to cheer his family up even when they're talking about difficult things. But I really liked all of his wise words of advice to Ichigo at the end, and I actually bought them. The bit when he said, the bit when he lights the cigarette and says that Masaki thought it made him look cool was really touching, and I really liked what he said to Ichigo about, hey son, die before me and die with a smile on your face if you can. He said a bunch of other things, but that's what stuck out to me in particular, so I just kind of wanted to shout out Ishin's dad energy in this episode, really.
Yeah, definitely. And even though he sensed that there was something wrong with everything that people will know the reference that I'm having, it's still, people say that he's a bad father because, he doesn't step in enough. But there's a lot of controversy behind that because it's like, he can also only do so much, Like, in anime, we've seen that kids of that age are usually grown up enough, apparently. So it's always difficult when it comes to Ishin. But yeah. I do agree there that moment was so touching. Especially after...
I love it.
I think with Ishin, it really does come down to a matter of, like, he is, of course, goofy. He is, of course, like, wanting to be, like, a friend to his kids. And that just goes to show, like, his fun, goofy side. But when it does count, he is their father, and he will show that fatherly love and responsibility. But in that, I do see that he has a belief that that responsibility also includes letting his kids grow and find who they are. And in Ichigo's case, that means letting him take on the duties as a substitute Soul Reaper without interfering. Even though he might see something is up, he's not gonna just step in and give him all his advice and tell him what's what. He's gonna let him.
Unless it's with a girl.
Yeah.
Then he'll step in and butt his nose in. Ishin's a case of his own.
Yeah. I think he's a good dad. I like him a lot. I think most of this episode was about the confrontation and the fight, so we can jump to the differences between the anime and the manga pretty quick. There's a moment which totally made my skin crawl in the anime where the Grand Fisher talks about how he preys on women because they're sweet and delicious. Absolutely disgusting. This is not in the manga anywhere. He talks only about how he's interested in consuming people that have high spiritual pressure. So I don't know if they just wanted to play up the grossness factor in the anime, maybe make him even more disgusting than he already is, or something.
Yeah. His voice was screen crawly enough.
Let's see. He also calls Ichigo Sunny all the time in the official translation of the manga, which is grating. I think it's just everything about the Grand Fisher is meant to be grating and terrible. Hot take, I don't like the Grand Fisher, guys.
I'm right there with you.
There's a moment when Ichigo has to take on his Shinigami form, and in the anime we see him kind of fishing around in Kon's mouth for the little soul candy, but there's a moment in the manga where they have to, like, give each other mouth to mouth for, like, 2 pages. It takes a very long time.
I would have loved
and I can understand. Oh my god, Kon would be so gross about it. So that's a thing. Another thing we haven't really touched on, so Orihime and Tatsuki are in both of these episodes, kind of J-chillin' for most of it. And we haven't really talked about them much. They don't really do too much as far as the plot goes, but in the manga, we see a bit of Orihime at Tatsuki's house, and she talks about how she's been evicted. So once again, we get to see that Orihime, I know, she's going through some real shit in these first several episodes. Like, Orihime has she is struggling against a lot. But she also, even despite these circumstances, she has a joke where she talks about, she, like, shows Tatsuki a sleeping bag and is like, oh yeah, I've just been camping out. And Tatsuki's like, excuse me, what? And Orihime's like, oh darn. That joke didn't land as well as I wanted to. I've actually been sleeping at a hotel, and she's been carrying around the sleeping bag just so she can make that joke.
I was going to say, she reminds me of Toru from Fruits Basket in that scene, because Toru is, like, so happy-lucky no matter if she lives in a tent. So that was that hit me in the feels for a second.
Yeah.
No, I never really liked Orihime much, but those type of moments would have been good because that would have given me more love her character the first time around. Because obviously I have more respect for her now. But the first time around I really didn't like her because of the way the anime portrayed her. And a lot of people drew me to that point, which is that the anime did her a bit dirty, which is, you know, understandable. But
I like Orihime so much more every time I watch Bleach. I think she's so layered, and I think she's super underrated. And I mean, yeah, we'll talk about her more in future episodes, I'm sure, so I don't want to say too much, but, like, I think she's super cool, and she deserves more love. She's doing her best in the most extreme way. Yeah,
I think if they just gave her a bit more layers when it comes to her protection of Ichigo, I think we're doing better. I didn't like that aspect. It's kind of, she needed to have more of a life outside of that. Like, not that she didn't, it was more just, they kind of had that consume her a little bit, and she kind of had a lot of flaws because of it for me. But yeah, those moments that they've left out that you've mentioned are giving me a lot more kind of respect for her, which is nice.
Yeah. No, she's great. There's not much more, so there's a moment where Rukia informs Ichigo that when he takes damage in his soul form, that damage will transfer to his physical body and it'll still hurt. And then there's also a moment of Grand Fisher returning back to wherever hollows come from, and he's getting his ass handed to him by some, like, uber hollow who seems to be in charge of him, and he's, like, not pleased with Grand Fisher's performance for about 2 pages. It's pretty intense.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's there are a couple other small differences, but those are the big ones.
Shiki, any translation issues or anything? Or differences, I should say.
The only major difference that I saw in between the dub and the sub was when we see Ichigo's mom, the memory replay. In the English dub, there was a lot more speaking for the mom, and that played more into one of my previous points in a past episode where the English-speaking cultures don't seem to value silence in their media as much as the Japanese culture does. But other than that, this episode was pretty much spot on, take for take, word for word, exactly the same.
Cool.
Nice. Cool as. Well, if that wraps up that episode, I guess without any ado, we go into the next one, which is completely off script from those last two. So we take a moment to take a breather from the dark and tragic and go into a lot more of a lighter feel, which is the Donkanoji episode, as I will label it because that's all I can. It was always one of my favorite episodes when I first began to watch the anime. I do want to point that out because I realized why I liked it. Other than getting a few moments, because I don't like Donkanoji past this point. But for this episode, it was interesting to see the different levels of spiritual pressure and the way they manifest and how they work in normal humans, or normal, I say with quotation marks, because obviously he's not a Soul Reaper. He's just a person with high spiritual pressure, and yet he has these, special abilities. And the way hollows are made, I love that. Again, we get to get more information on all that, but specifically the differences between Jibaku spirits. Because I don't think we see, other than like one other episode, which technically filler, I don't think we see much about Jibaku spirits after that. I could be wrong there. It's been a while. So yeah, we get to actually talk about like the whole, which is the absent of the heart, and the mask, which is the shield that is shielding those bare instincts. And I guess that's one of my favorite hollows too. The frog looking one. I don't know why. We also have that sense of devouring, as we've had with the past ones, of course. But the first one was devouring. The second hollow we have, he just was a murderous psychopath, and then we had Grand Fisher. It's these, we're getting so much taste of these differences, and it's very fun. But I like that they delivered it in a fun episode as well. Like the humor in it is spot on. I still laugh every time. Like Ichigo's face. It's just.
Oh God, I know.
it's a complete contrast to the previous episode, which a lot my love, a lot my hate. But it was just, it was, I don't know, I love it. I still love it. I don't like much about the past few episodes when it comes to humor, but this one will always be a brilliant one. So, what did you guys think of what happened in the episode? Not that it's much plot development other than information.
So I like this episode mainly because of the world building we got, namely with the types of souls and how hollows are made and can be set up in the process, but also seeing what normal humans could do, like with Kanoji's spirit bomb thing.
Yeah, whatever that is.
And it's not like humans with high spirit pressure or spirit energy, they are not defenseless. It's not like you need to be a soul reaper to.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need to be a soul reaper to protect yourself from hollows. And this is like very crucial if you have high spirit energy, because you're going to be like a prime target that hollows are going to be going after. So you need something.
Walking, talking meal, literally.
Yeah,
Because
so
Karen obviously would be a lot more less out of danger if she was a bit older. I think that's obviously, and she can't see them fully, as we've seen.
Yeah,
Don
true.
Kanoji can definitely see them completely. So yeah.
Something that I really liked about this episode reminded me of last episode of the podcast. We were talking a little bit about how unexpectedly humanized Cone is, because he's a comic relief character and he's super goofy, and all I remember about Cone is that he's annoying when I think back to the anime. I think about Don Kanonji in a very similar way, but I totally forgot until this rewatch that moment where he talks about needing to be a role model for children and why they need to see him strike home the final blow. I felt for him, and I forgot that he was driven by something serious, and so that was really nice to see.
yeah, I'll be honest. Kanoji, low key, at least in the dub or the sub, kind of annoyed me because of the English.
English, yes.
Yeah, Elv, you have to listen to the opening in the Japanese, because Kanoji's
You're gonna
English
hate it.
You'll
No,
see
I've
why.
heard Kanoji in Japanese. I can't.
Yeah, it's like I low key can't take him because of that. I enjoyed him much better in the dub. I will give him that.
See, I don't like him either way, at all. But I love that episode. Like, every time Kanoji comes into a filler or anything like that, I skip it. I can't take him seriously. He's one of those characters I'll always hate. But like Del said, they had good points about what they said about you know, that deeper part of him that was for the kids. I only liked that because it connected with Ichigo, and Ichigo could be like, okay, I don't need to absolutely belt this guy around the head. He has some sense to him, but yeah, and it gave some seriousness, because it needs that contrast between seriousness and goofy, or else you kind of get lost. So
yeah, when I was rewatching it, it was like when it came to that part where he was talking about like wanting to be an inspiration for the kids, I was literally like, I hate you so much. You are a moron, but what you want to do for the kids, you're a moron, but a respectable moron.
A moron with a heart of gold.
Yeah. Isn't that usually?
Man.
He's such a dad character. Like, literally, he's literally a dad, but to the extreme.
Oh my god, you're right. And his dad jokes are even worse than Ishiin's, frankly speaking.
Oh, him and Ishiin were probably best friends, let's be honest. They could be
and we could also point out, like, Ishiin is into this, which actually, now that I'm thinking about it, like, we had those little shots of Ishiin and Yuzu crossing their arms and doing the, like, BOHAHAHAHA. So Ishiin is supporting the fact that one of his kids, like, Karin and Ichigo are super over it, and, like, even in the manga, Karin is, like, she's kind of over it in the anime. She doesn't give a fuck in the manga, like, not even a little bit. But I wonder whether Ishiin can recognize what Don Kanonji is trying to do, and he's like, oh, Yuzu could do with a little bit of support and encouragement. So if my daughter thinks that this moron is cool and it'll help her feel more courageous, then like, heck yeah, I'll take her to see the live taping in my town, even though, like, who knows how into it Ishin really is. But I like to think that maybe he's doing it for Yuzu.
Low-key, I think he just thinks it's funny. I genuinely think he enjoys it.
Yeah, I think he would be more of the kind of guy who would like go with Kanoji to the karaoke and izakaya bars.
Probably.
Have some drinks, you know, talk about spirits. Ishin pretend like he actually gives a shit, but just likes the fucking dad jokes, because it's just, he's such a Ishin character. Like, but there's always got to be one of them that is like Kanoji, and that's what like stresses me out, low-key. Okay, so was that all for... That was a quick episode? Or were we doing manga?
Yeah, there are a couple differences, but this episode was a pretty straightforwardly adapted one. I think my very favorite difference is there's a bit in the beginning that I'm actually just going to read out loud real quick because it was so freaking funny, where Ichigo is at the breakfast table, and this is the bit where we see Karin being like, yeah, dude, Don Kanonji is not my jam. Ichigo's like, I know, right? But he's reading an astrology magazine, and he's talking about how like feng shui and astrology and fortune telling and things that make money by exploiting the hopes of people who don't know any better really annoy him. So Ichigo is a Cancer, which is fine. I don't know why. I guess I just always assumed he was a fire sign, and he's not. No, Cancers are lovely. I have a lot of best friends who are Cancers. So the Cancer horoscope says, "There's no easy way to say it. This week will be catastrophic. Bad things will rain down on you. You may even lose your will to live." And then there's a little heart. "Your lucky number is 666. Your lucky colors are red on black." That is the horoscope that Ichigo reads. Just a little... God. I don't think that would translate well to the anime, but I thought it was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pity that should have, because, like, not to shit on any specific Western culture, but we eat that shit up, like, for breakfast. Like, a lot of us. Like, I don't... necessarily, I don't like horoscopes, but I do like star sign stuff to an extent. There's a point where I cut it off. But that being said, a lot of people in the Western society love that. So I'm surprised they didn't add that in. Or maybe it's because, again, just animating issues. I don't know. Interesting though.
So there aren't too many more. It's kind of just like little scenes that we didn't get to see in the anime. For one thing, Mizuhiro, Ichigo's friend, ends up being seduced by two hot older women at the taping of the show, and he just kind of pops off with them, and that's what happens. So, again, it is canon that Mizuhiro gets around a little bit, which I think is super funny. Orihime and Tatsuki are present at the taping as well, and they can hear the spirit chained to the hospital screaming also.
Yeah, that was the anime.
Yeah. Let's see. In the anime, Rukia uses drawings to explain the difference between Jubaku spirits and Tsuki spirits, but in the manga, it's a pretty quick and dirty moment where she gives Ichigo the core facts quite quickly because she can understand that the situation is escalating. And the spirit expresses that it's stuck here because it thought it was supposed to inherit the hospital, and so that's why it's chained to this specific location. There's a moment where Ichigo's teachers and his classmates are watching the TV, and they can see him and Rukia messing around with the hospital, and they're a little bit like, oh my god, those are our classmates, this is really embarrassing. And then lastly, we've got Tatsuki and Chad watching the taping as well, and both of them can see a blurry outline, and I don't think they quite connect that it's Ichigo, but what they do see is a blur of Ichigo and the Hollow fighting, and they're both like, something's going on, but I don't quite know what.
As usual.
I know. Poor Tatsuki and Chad, like, they have just high enough spiritual pressure for it to be kind of annoying for them. So that's it between the anime and the manga for this episode. Is there anything else anybody wanted to touch on? Because this one is so different from the other two.
No, to be honest, it's such a simple episode that there's not much you really need to touch on. I mean, other than just those fun facts of like Ichigo being Ichigo, calling Donkanoji a jackass and a dumbass, you know. Those are my favorite things always.
Yeah, it was a nice lighthearted episode after that heavy last two.
Yeah, we needed a break.
Indeed.
All right. Well, if that's all we've got to say about those episodes for the time being, I figure we can move on to our awards section, our Shinigami Cup Peroxide Edition. Indeed. Shout out to, I think that was Naomi again, right, who suggested that?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, because it's sticking and we like it. So, what did y'all put for best dressed this week?
I think I have to say Lethan's on the for Lethan, the best dress, don't at me, it was Lethan's fault, is definitely Grand Fisher wearing Ichigo's mum.
Yes, classic.
Yep.
I did not deliver that as well as Lethan would have loved, but there it is.
All right. For mine, I was kind of basic with this one, but I said Ishin in a suit because, let's be honest, he looks pretty sharp in a suit.
The man cleans up nice. I agree. And I gave my award this week. I want to give a shout out to the Nice Vibe t-shirt because it's iconic, but that is not my best dressed moment. I had to give my best dressed award to young Ichigo wearing a smile because he's really cute.
Oh, that's very sad and brutal and sweet.
He's so cute. Young Ichigo's freaking adorable.
Honestly, though.
Okay, who did you all put for best ship this week? Yeah.
Best ship. You go first, Shiki. Let's go off a bit off script.
Right.
I've got to think about that one. So I've got it between two.
So for my best ship, I said Ichigo and the security team because
oh god,
they most certainly were all over him.
You're not wrong. God. That's a really good call. Part of me this week wanted to be serious and give it to Ishin and Misaki because it's really pure and Ishin clearly loved her a lot. But that had to be a close runner-up to, ultimately, Don Kanonji and his inexplicable sense of self-confidence.
You read that. Oh my god. Oh, my best ship would definitely have to be... It's a difficult one. Okay, Urahara and appearing at the best times. That's a great
yes!
ship. Just Urahara's impeccable timing is...
Honestly, bravo. That's my new OTP.
Honestly though, right? Yeah, you say it, right?
Yes.
Oh. And it was between that and Tatsuki's right hook, you know. It was either that one or that the other, you know, but we gotta go with Kisuke for that one. Definitely. And what else did we have? Do we have anything else?
Yeah, what's your best double take moment in this series of episodes?
Oh, yeah.
So for me, my double take, we didn't touch on it too much in the episode here, but there was a scene at the end of chapter 25, I think. And this is one thing from the manga I do remember that was different. I'm not going to touch on it too much. I'm just going to say there's a little bit of foreshadowing that's mentioned in chapter 25. Read it, and if you know what's up, you know what's up. But
yeah, that sounds fair. There were two moments that were pretty similar, sort of, but they had different tones that I clocked. One is at the top of the Don Kanonji episode when Keigo, another one of Ichigo's friends from school, I don't know what it said in the dub, but in the sub, the way that they translated it, when Ichigo's like, I'm not really that into Don Kanonji, Keigo was like, oh, you'd have to be dead to be a citizen of this town and not want to go, which is... shockingly astute, actually. I mean, Keigo misses details here and there, but that was a very apt thing for him to say. And Ichigo, of course, responds, and he's like, fine, I'm a zombie, whatever, I don't care, I'm a punk. But I didn't see that coming from Keigo. And there's also a moment early on when Orihime is like, I wonder what Ichigo's been up to. He's probably a hero saving the town. And Tatsuki's like, no, I don't think so. But Orihime clocked some real shit there too. And so I was kind of like, nice job, Ichigo's classmates. You are missing a lot of details, but I'm surprised and impressed.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Honestly, I'd probably have to say that it would be the moment when Ichigo said it was his fault that his mum died. There's something about that moment, specifically not now when I rewatch it, but I remember specifically at the tender age of when I was still naive and couldn't anticipate that coming. It kind of had me like, bitch, what? Like, it was just that moment, like, even Rukia had that moment, like, no, impossible. Impossible. Yeah. Impossible. Sorry. But
that's okay. Ichigo's a theater fan. That's actually canon. I don't think we'll touch on it ever again, but it's a thing.
Yeah. Well, I knew that he liked Shakespeare, but
he does like Shakespeare. Boy after my own heart. Oh.
See, I'm Australian. We have no idea what the fuck anything to do with Shakespeare other than like the movie. We literally only did, you know, that shitty movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, I'm not shitting on Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, that's literally the only thing we've ever done an essay on, anything to do with Shakespeare. Other than that, we don't do anything to do with Shakespeare. At least not where I went to school ever. Like, Shakespeare is only, it's literally known as that geeky thing in American movies. Like,
it's not cool in America. I mean, guys, we're all doing an anime podcast. Like, we're not cool. No one thinks we're cool. Oh, sorry. I'm fine. I'll take you out of that equation. That's true. You're doing real things with your life, Elv. Oh, God.
I'm a dork, but I'd like to think. See, I want to say it because I know my friends will think it's a joke, but I don't want my podcast viewers to think I'm a dick. So I'm like, no, it's okay. Do I shit on my friends because they know I love them? Or I think I'm the least dorkiest out of my friend group. I'm the out of dork to weeb status, I am sitting on a low dork compared to my friends.
That's fair.
So, yeah, they know I love them. It's fine. Speaking of, if any of you, if we have wrapped up anything, even if we haven't, I love to give a shout out to our server because obviously it's what brought this lovely podcast, and I think I'll always be the one to bring up the shout out first because as much as there can be some ups and downs, I absolutely love being in the server. I have made so many new friends, and I honestly, if you want to be in a server where we talk about Bleach and even just anything, you know, Bleach and more than Bleach, and have a community of friends that are actually nice and kind and not assholes that like completely shit on your ideas, please join the Seireitei server. You can find us on our Tumblr, our Twitter, which all links will be wherever needed, or it's pretty easy to search the Seireitei on Tumblr or Twitter. We even have Instagram, thanks to the lovely Dell for getting that ready, and just, yeah, I could not stress enough how amazing it is being in this server. And you can voice chat, there's always voice chats happening, you know, we're a lovely group of dorks. That's all I have to say about that.
It's a good place to hang.
Indeed.
Yeah. Is that your fandom shout out for the week, Elv, or do you have another piece?
To be honest, other than the one I've been shouting at every week, because shout out to Nova because I love you. I love your fic so much. She is updating chapter 5 as we speak, and I am so excited. So if you want to, with the fandom shout out other than the Seireitei, I get 2 this time because I'm special because Lethan's not here. I definitely think, yeah, so the server and definitely, I'll shout Nova out more when we get to the specific links because obviously we have to have our delving into the Dung guide, but I like to plug our server at random points. So please join, or at least, you know, enjoy us on our podcast either way. But yeah, so further to do, it's delving into the Dung guide.
Yeah, hit it.
Shiki. Any news, my dude?
All right, so as we're still kind of early into the game for bringing back Bleach, there's not too much news. However, Masahi Kudo. I believe he was the lead character art or designer for the anime and the manga. He posted a video on YouTube on how to draw Rukia. So if you want to see it from the very first kind of pencil sketches all the way to a final production, definitely something to check out. You can find his Twitter at KUDO_M_. He posted this tweet on May 18th.
All right, cool. So I guess the only thing that really remains for us is to give our little fandom shout outs for the week. Shiki, do you have anything?
No, not really. Just the Kudo fan drawing, or the Kudo how to draw.
Technically.
Sick.
Yeah, I was going to say that technically could be. And obviously you heard mine other than the Seireitei. Definitely my friend Nova's fic that she's writing for me and a fellow author named Heckwose, because also shout out to Heckwose, because it used to make me live and breathe writing. I need to get back into it. But if you want to follow that, it's about Phase and lovely Ichigo and Toshiro madness, and it is, if I can remember, because her name's not Nova on her thingy.
I can give my shout out while you're. Oh, never mind.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Reijin Hakume.
Cool. Yeah, I just didn't know how long it was going to take you to find it. I'm so sorry.
Oh, good. It's easier just to Google Son of Winter or Lone Guardian, and so Reijin _Hakume. I would spell it, but you'll figure it out.
And I think also if you jump into our Discord server, it's pretty easy to find links to a lot of the fics that we shout out as well. So that's extra incentive for y'all.
Indeed.
I wanted to give. Sorry.
I said, and you can talk to us. Why not join the server? Sorry. I'm going mad with the 1 a.m. craziness.
No, it's good stuff. We're a pretty international crew, so we're up at all time zones. It's wild. I wanted to give my fandom shout out this week to a cosplayer who is, full disclosure, a friend of mine. I relocated from New York City to Colorado this week because of some family things, some COVID-related things. Everybody's okay, but I left the city, which was a pretty difficult decision to make. And my buddy Anthony from the Bronx is primarily an Ichigo cosplayer when it comes to Bleach, and he does a really lovely job. And he also he's just been I was really hesitant to leave my cosplay fam back in New York, but he's been really kind, and he's just a really great cosplayer. And he posts occasionally about things like fitness and wellness, and he's just a good dude. So if you want to follow him on Instagram, that's Anthony Cosjitsu. And we'll pop links to his page in our show notes. But yeah, I think if you want to follow a good cosplayer who's also just a solid dude, I can't recommend his cosplay page enough. So that's my shout out for the week.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So anything else we want to touch on before we wrap up?
I think that's all well and good so far. If any of you, because we completely forgot to mention at the beginning, if any of you are wondering where our lovely Lethan is, it was just so happened to be that sometimes we might be changing up the amount of hosts at a time. Just remember that we didn't, honest to God, didn't even gloss over why our lovely Lethan was gone. I mean, I guess in post you could just put something at the beginning. I don't know how editing works, but depending on schedules and from feedback, we might vary the number of hosts, but she's not gone forever, so no one panic if you missed hearing the brilliant Scottish accent that is Lethan. She will be on in one of the future episodes, and I might disappear. Who knows? It's a mystery.
Yeah, we'll all disappear every now and again, I'm sure. We'll mix it up, we'll rotate it around. Yeah. It'll be good. And
we might even have guests on at some point, so
yeah, we intend
tuned.
to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm glad that everyone's sticking through with the the mishaps that we have. We are only in episode 4, and I think we're doing fairly alright so far. But definitely bring in your feedback wherever possible. We do appreciate that. We want to get better
rate
as we
us,
go
review
along.
us, all that noise. We appreciate it
definitely.
deeply.
So yeah, we appreciate you sticking around, and maybe even, depending on how far this goes, we can even go into new avenues of spoilers. So if any of you have any preference to spoilers, or she can cut it out depending on how the rest of people feel, how you guys are feeling about keeping those spoilers secret and everything. So feedback's always appreciated, dears.
All right. Well, if that's all we've got for today, thank you, you wonderful souls. That's the end of another episode. If you like what you heard and you want to get involved, you can find us by searching for TheSeireitei on Tumblr and Instagram, and TheSeireitei on Twitter. Each of these platforms will link you to our fantastically deadly Discord family, where you can chat with us about the show, read fan fiction, take part in creative challenges, and talk anything and everything Bleach. On the next episode of the podcast, we'll be covering anime episode 11, The Legendary Quincy, and episode 12, A Gentle Right Arm. We'll see you souls then. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.